talked about this beforehand?
We had several conversations just about our goals in the profession, and obviously he's a really sharp individual, very big time competitor, and as we kind of talked through and had worked together for 2 years, um, glad to see it came together.
How quickly or slowly did you jump on this?
Pretty much immediately. Obviously I had some track record of playing against K State, coaching against K State, knowing what this place is from a football, rich tradition school. Add on top of that everything I knew about Coach Klein, our personal relationship, how aligned we were, and everything that we thought philosophically, both personally and professionally, and how aligned we were from a standpoint of the direction of a culture that you want to create, and put all that together with my wife and Shaylin are close, and the kiddos, and it was a perfect situation for us.
When you were coaching or playing against Kansas State in the past, what were your thoughts on the Wildcats?
Gritty. You knew it was going to be a four-quarter battle. You knew that it was going to be a fist fight. Try to figure out who's going to come out of the phone booth alive. It's kind of my first year as a GA was the 4 overtime game here when I GA'd at A&M, and so like every experience was some version of that. So that's the outside perception of it, and you get here and you understand why. You get to know the people and understand the culture of what this place really is from the inside, not just from the outside perspective, and it's everything you want.
And also having some experience working within the state, how much did it excite you to put on the Power Cat here?
I know the battles that we lost a lot of times on the other side of things from a recruiting standpoint. It means a lot to me. Like, my family loves the state of Kansas. Like my kids, my oldest was born in California. My other two were born in New Mexico. But when we moved to the state of Kansas, that's really the only thing they really remembered. They were old enough to remember. And so when we talked to the kiddos about, hey, we're going to move back to the state of Kansas, it was they were all excited. They were fired up. And I was like, hey, we get to wear the purple now. And they were excited. Let's just say that.
What college?
Four overtime game.
What's that?
What do you remember from that 4 overtime game? What sticks out?
So it's funny because Colin and I would talk about it at A&M. He remembered the bad plays that he had, and I only remembered the bad plays that we had on our side. And so, like, I think about we're in quarters, and they throw a quarters beater for a touchdown. We're up by 2 scores, and it's like, well, that's what I remember. And he's like, well, that's funny because earlier in that drive, I threw a 7 cut into cover 3, and luckily I sailed the ball. And so, like, it's funny because we would go back and forth, and we would remember the negative things about. It's just kind of how we're wired, I guess.
What Colin show you in the last 2 years that you're just like, okay, be head coach?
Well, you always have a tremendous amount of respect for somebody when you knew them as a player, you knew them as a coach. You see what he's built over the course of his career. And then when you get to work with them directly on a day-to-day basis, you get to kind of see that quiet confidence. Like, Colin's a dog. Like, he's a competitor. But he's also got this humble confidence about him that, like, he knows what he stands on. He knows the business that he stands on. He knows the culture that he's trying to build. And so when you're around somebody like that, it's the right kind of leadership. And so I got to see that firsthand for the last 2 years at A&M together, and watch, the offense there kind of click on all cylinders. And sometimes it'd be in the pass game, sometimes it'd be in the run game, but just a complete package of what he presents on the offensive side of the things. And then part of our conversations were the things that we were able to do defensively, and some of the background of where I've been and who I'd worked with in the past, kind of put things together where it seemed like a great fit for both of us.
When someone watches your defense, what do you want their takeaway to be?
Well, it better be a fast, violent, relentless effort. Like, they ought to be able to feel it on tape. Like, as you're watching it, they ought to. The first reaction should be like, "Wow!" Like, these guys play hard. They play together. They play with a level of confidence and swagger about them. That's the first thing that I want people to say about this defense.
Do you have a base formation in mind for next season?
So it's funny because I have worked with and around people in every schematic defensive setup, right? Whether it was 3-4, 4-2-5, 4-3, 3-3-5. Like I've kind of been around the whole block. We're going to be very multiple in what we do. We don't want a team to be able to 100% know what we're going to be in all the time, right? And I think as you package a defense together, you want it to be multiple to the offense, but simplistic enough to where the guys understand what they're doing, right? So it's same as teaching from us, but making sure that they got to prepare for multiple things, not only from a front structure standpoint, but a coverage system.
What's it been like getting to know the kids and having them getting to know you guys? How's that gone from your perspective?
Awesome. I think there's a hunger here. Like I think that obviously we brought in a decent chunk of transfers in the signing class. So we're in that process of kind of making sure there's cohesiveness and you're building that brotherhood. But at the same time, these guys, whether they were here or they were transfers, like they're hungry and they're looking for opportunities to get better. They're trying to find opportunities to learn. They're working their butts off in the weight room and in the strength and conditioning department. So from that standpoint, it's been really, really nice. And you get to kind of switch gears. You take the job, and it was all recruiting. It was like putting together, solidifying a roster, right? Not only the guys that you were retaining from the previous staff, but also like going out to get transfers. So like when you put all that together, it's been nice just to be able to kind of focus on the football part of things and getting to know and build relationships with our current players.
To follow on that, I was talking to my guy Mason, and I asked him, what are you going to be thinking about when you go on the field for the first time? He said, I'm going to have some angry thoughts. Do you feel like these guys, do they have a chip on their shoulders?
Obviously it's early, so it's easy to feel like that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like that's where we're at. And it's just, okay, from a consistency standpoint, can you maintain that mindset, that mentality, that chip on the shoulder approach from a preparation standpoint? I mean, you literally prepare 345 days of the year for a few opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so can you maintain that elite level of focus, elite level of competitive stamina to make sure that you're doing that not when it feels good, but when things get really, really hard?
Did you feel like you got all the boxes checked that you wanted to when you went into the portal in January?
Yeah, I think that we, as a collective, it was hair on fire. Like, let's watch. I felt like I watched 2,000 kids, 2,000 guys between the portal and whatnot. But like, we feel like we've gotten we retained some good chunk of pieces that we feel really good about, and obviously we try to supplement that with guys that we brought in, and we feel that we're in as good of a position as we possibly could be, given the amount of turnover and attrition when the staff turned over.
What was that time like for you? That had to be challenging, but yet like fun to a degree, right? I mean,
it's always fun. Like it was one of the bigger challenges. Anytime that's that is just this day and age of college football. Anytime there's a staff change, it is what it is. Like there's going to be change in rosters. Like you're not going to have an opportunity to talk to all the guys that you're wanting to retain on the previous roster. It is kind of what it is. And so we just kind of put our heads down. We got, Colin and I, along with Trey and Taylor, got together and we tried to see as many guys as we could on the roster, try to keep as many as we could, right? And then it was from there, it was like, okay, these are the places these guys went, all right, let's figure out the pieces that we need. And so then it was literally put our heads down, let's watch a lot of tape, like between the season from last year here, along with, okay, these are the pieces that we need to add. There wasn't a lot of sleep going on, but when you kind of sit back and look, if we would have said a month and a half ago, this is the roster that we'd have going into the 26th season, we'd all sign up for it every time.
Once that was finished, then you were on the road recruiting high school. So has it slowed down yet, or even moved in? Or
No, I'm not moved in at all. So we kind of, there's a house that we're all kind of staying at. There's like 5 of us. We jokingly call it the frat house because it's just coaches living there. And there's no reason to leave the office. Like we're just working here, and then when it's time to go to sleep, we just go back to the house and go to bed. But not even remotely close to being moved in. We did the high school recruiting in January once the portal settled down. I kind of leave that up to my wife because I'm not making any like living situation decisions without her because she's the real head of the household. And so between her and my 3 little girls, like I know she'll tell me where we're gonna live.
And it'll be all right, right?
Yeah, it'll be great. I can live in a shoebox.
What have you made of this place so far? I mean, fan base already taking you in with burner accounts on social media and everything. Just what have you made of everything?
It's been amusing. It's been amusing, and obviously Taylor doesn't help that cause, right? Like he's just adding fuel to the fire. But it's been awesome. I mean, this community, like even when my wife and daughters came up to visit early in January, like we took them to Leap, the little trampoline deal, whatever, and like people in the community would come up and introduce themselves. Like it's everything that Colin said it would be, and more. And so like me and my family, we couldn't be more excited about it.
So they'll come after school in May or whatever?
I would like them to come yesterday. But we don't have a place to live. So in a perfect world, it'll be in and around spring break if we can find something to settle in on. Like for us, it's get them around the community, get them to meet some friends. As a mom and dad of the 3 little girls, you try to.
And what are the ages?
11, 8, and 6. Yeah, so it's Thunderdome at my house.
Well, good.
Which position do you focus on, or do you take a bigger picture look at everything?
So I've always thought that the NFL had it right, is where you want to have a coordinator that, yes, he has an area of expertise that is his baby, right? The secondary is my baby. But to make decisions for the betterment of the team as a full unit, by taking your bias of a certain position group out, you can make decisions that are best for the unit. And so although I'm obviously going to be heavily involved with the back 7, I'm not going to directly have a position. Coach Woodson, Coach Johnson, Amari Linton, like the guys that we've kind of added to the staff along with Cardulis, like we feel really, really good about the guys we have a great staff, like an unbelievable staff. It allows me to kind of take a big picture view and make sure making decisions that are right for the unit.
With Colin's obvious familiarity with this place, has it kind of felt like him welcoming you guys into his home a little bit and being able to show you around Manhattan and what he likes about this place?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we had always kind of talked about it and joked about my time at the other school along with his time obviously here. And so we had shared conversations about what it would be like. But when we got here, he was coming back home, right? So he knew everything. I knew like one street, and that was the street to get from here to the hotel. That obviously made the transition a lot easier. And like when we talk about family and trying to get they're talking to my wife about, okay, these are the places that you want to live. This is like it's so much easier of a transition when you have someone on the staff. We have multiple people on the staff that are so familiar with the community.
Was he always talking about here when he would talk about it?
I mean, we talked about it was more big picture. It wasn't about, obviously the assumption was like this would be his dream job, right? He's come back home to coach at his alma mater, right? But it never really came up until like last minute when everything went down. So, but he did call me when it was happening. He was like, dude, like, let's do this. And so it was exciting. Obviously, it happened really, really fast, and we were still preparing for the playoff game against Miami. But yeah, it's been awesome.